The Columbia RTA public transportation system is used by a wide majority of people. Whether it's used for school, for work, or for leisurely activities, many people use this system. But there are many problems residing within it, whether it's the seats, economic impact, environmental impact, or even just simple timing. Many problems have arisen within this topic. I have conducted a brief survey of about 10 people to show what they think of this system. I had them answer questions about if they take it, why they take it, things they think should change, and how they feel about ticket prices, along with a few other questions. The first question we have here is if people take the public transportation system. As you can see, only 2 people take the buses the entire time. 1 person takes it occasionally, and the other 8 never take it. Now, the next question will explain how and why the people use the system. From the options of work, school, other reasons, and for all activities, and along with not using it, nobody said they use the buses for work. 1 person said they use it for school, 1 person said for other activities, 1 person for all transportation, and the other 8 are the same who said they do not take the system. The topic I presented in the third question was about ticket prices. 8 of the people say they are completely okay with the $2 full fare or the $1 discounted fare. 1 of the people say they pay the full fare and discounted fare, but they wish it was slightly less expensive. 1 of the people say they feel the prices are way too expensive and need to be lowered immediately. The fourth question for this survey was about the bus routes, drop-offs, and pickups. 4 of the people feel that they had no stops near them and they are completely stranded, therefore not being able to use the public transportation system. 5 of the people said they had to find their own way for some of the stops, but other than those few stops, they have no issues with the buses. 2 of the people said every stop they need to go to is easy and it is done through the public transportation. The 2014 launch of the RTA's public transportation system that linked Howard, Anne Arundel, and Prince George's counties along with the city of Laurel, saying they added new routes and unified everything, and yet responders still say they do not have stops near them, raises a serious issue. Were stops added in the right places or just added where they think they should go? The 5th question I had was about the change of the route labels from colors to numbers and letters. 3 of the people said they prefer these numbers and letters over the original system of colors. 1 person said they adjusted after some time to the numbers and letters but are fine with it now. 5 of the people said they still wish it was labeled in colors. The preference of the color routes over the number routes is very simple. The colors can still be read even with color blindness because they are outlined in black. So you can read the word red even if you can't see the color red. The numbers, on the other hand, can be very distracting and very difficult. If you don't know what the number is, or if you're off by just 1, you could end up somewhere completely different than you planned on, and it can be very difficult to try and get back. Some people may also have the condition of dyscalculia, which means you have a very strong weakness with numbers, and you cannot do simple mathematics. These people have a very tough time guiding the roots of numbers and letters because they cannot make sense of the numbers. The next topic I present is the frequency of buses along their routes. 1 person said they wait little to no time for the buses to arrive. 2 of the people said they have to wait a small amount of time, but it's still an acceptable amount. 7 of the people said the wait for the buses is too long for every single transfer drop-off. The 2014 change to the RTA said they would make the buses every 30 minutes rather than every hour for Route 406, which is from the Mall in Columbia to the Snowden Square Shopping Center. It's the busiest bus line in the county. But even with this 30-minute change, there are still plenty of other routes that require other changes to times to make things faster. A simple way to solve this issue could be either adding more buses that will be running opposite directions of the routes. So while one bus is going north, for example, another bus is going south to pick up the people. Therefore, it's a constantly rotating circle, and everything is kept simple, straightforward, and efficient. The last choice I had was if people think the vehicles are environmentally efficient. 4 people said yes, and 4 people said no. This split on the buses could be seen as how some changes are made to make the buses somewhat hybrid, but they are still very heavy on the diesel. And with this heavy diesel, they are still putting lots of pollutants into the air. The solution to environmental efficiency could tie back to the previous question of route efficiency. If you have more vehicles that can run more efficient fuel, you can solve the environmental impact by not having such heavy diesel put into the air, while also putting more vehicles on a route, therefore cutting back on the wait times. This solution could solve many problems, along with putting more vehicles to possibly even expand on routes and reach to more people. The last question I asked was about changes people believe should be made in the public transportation system. This question did not have one correct response per se, but it had multiple responses that people could choose from. They could have answered every single one or just one. The most asked change was extending the time the vehicles are active. So this means putting the vehicles out later at night and keeping them running earlier in the morning. The next change was a higher frequency for some or all of the routes. This goes back to the previous answer of putting more vehicles that are more fuel efficient on a route to cut back on times and to cut back on environmental impact. Next was expanding on some or all of the routes, which are some of the people who do not have access to the public transportation system and therefore can't take it at all. People also wanting to make the times more uniform to synchronize with schedules. So whether this means having a 5-minute delay to not wait a half hour for the bus if you just miss it, or just having an easier time schedule than everything being so the same. Next was people going back to the color labels, which goes back to dyscalculia and how some people just can't do numbers as well as others. So the colors were much more simpler and much more efficient. Making the vehicles more fuel efficient and friendly was tied with it, and that again is with more vehicles that are smaller to cut back on the environment and to also increase the frequency of routes. We had vehicles being upgraded with seats or the exterior or seat belts or any sort of change that may be required. That's not as strongly supported, but people do still think it should be done. And the last request was that the lower fare for a ride. So obviously the lower fare for a ride is not as requested. People are very okay with it, but they still do wish it was a bit lower.